Hello again, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast Retro Life for You, movies of the 80s and 90s. Or, as Travis said just a minute ago, maybe we should just start referring to us as your retro movie outlet or something.
There you go.
We should do something like that. Travis, as co host, as always, is with us today.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
he's a Clive fan, it says.
Oh yeah. Well, I
Somebody
guess
hasn't
so.
updated. Somebody hasn't updated
Somebody
their
didn't
screen.
update their name. Let me do that.
uh,
Let me do that right now live.
That's a reference to just our last podcast when we did Nightbreed.
Let me do
But
it
it's all
like
good.
that. We'll do it
Oh,
like
look at you, Deacon Travis. All right,
that.
he's not he's not quite the preacher,
Not
but
quite the preacher, but I'll be a
but he
deacon.
but he'll be a deacon.
I'll collect
This
the
week,
money. I'll pass that
we
plate around.
right the collection plate. Don't be making change in the collection plate either.
Yeah, don't be making no change now.
We've been talking about throwing a western out there against it. Last one I think we did was Young Guns, wasn't it? That's the only western we've done is
Yeah,
Young
that's.
Guns.
I think so.
Yeah, it's the only
Yeah, because we've
one.
been talking about the Quick and the Dead and Unforgiven, and we've been talking about quite a few of them. And I think
Yeah,
I think you're right.
and Travis made a suggestion last week, and it's a great
Oh well,
suggestion.
we did Maverick.
Well, yeah, okay, yeah, we can consider Maverick. It's a western set in the West.
Absolutely.
I don't know what I was thinking. I forgot about that.
And Chief Joseph. So that only makes two in the 3 years we've been doing this. Two, three
Has
years,
it been almost 3 years?
almost three, I think.
Wow,
We started in 2023, so it's 2025. So it'll be the third year, I think, running.
can't get rid of us.
We ain't
That's
going
right.
nowhere.
We're still going. But Travis threw out the suggestion for Pale Rider, and I've not seen Pale Rider in quite some time. It was a good rewatch. I really enjoyed it again. It's Clint Eastwood.
1985.
Yep, 1985. Clint Eastwood as the preacher, they call him, and I don't think he was a preacher for real.
Uh, I think he was trying.
You think he was trying? I mean,
I think he was trying because I think he was trying to leave his old life behind him. You know what I mean? Because we'll get to the part that happened, but he had something locked up in a lockbox at the bank. He had
right,
to
he
go
did.
get. So I
He
think he
did.
was trying to just make amends and live a new life.
I'll tell you
I
what. We'll
like
give
how it
a.
leaves it open for you to interpret.
Oh, I got a question about you for interpretation of this movie here in just a minute, for sure.
Okay.
I'm just
You know what I
wondering.
did
I
love about this movie too
what?
was the fact that it was shot in 1985, but you still have the option to watch it in black and white if you want to.
Well, that I did not know that, but that's cool though.
Yeah, you can find it in black and white,
That's awesome.
which is pretty
Like
cool.
just like a classic western. Um, for those who aren't familiar with it, we should probably give them a little movie description here.
Yeah, talking about a Pale Rider. That's a good one. This one was enjoyable. I really enjoyed this one.
So
I felt like it's not your average western. I felt like it was a little different.
it is a little different. It feels like, but Pale Rider, Clint Eastwood delivers one of his most iconic western performances as a mysterious, ghostly gunslinger known only as the Preacher. Set during the California Gold Rush, the film follows a group of struggling prospectors being terrorized by a ruthless mining tycoon named Coy LaHood, played by Richard Dysart, who wants to force them off their land. Just as hope seems lost, a lone rider appears, quiet but deadly figure in a preacher's collar, who takes it upon himself to protect the settlers and stand against LaHood's hired guns. I can't talk tonight.
Uh
As
oh.
Preacher's past comes to light, his true nature remains a mystery. Is he merely a man with unfinished business, or is he something more? A supernatural force of vengeance, possibly? Blending
Hmm.
classic Western themes with a touch of mysticism, Pale, words, words.
Words.
Pale Rider
You
is
can
a
do it.
gripping tale of justice, redemption, and retribution, featuring stunning cinematography, a haunting score by Lennie Niehaus, and a legendary performance from Eastwood. The film stands as one of the greatest westerns of its time.
It
So
does.
I definitely agree with that. I
I would
do.
say it also stands as one of the most controversial of its time, and I'll tell you why.
Tell me why.
Because because I know for a fact that there have been many, 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 many horse enthusiasts arguing over what kind of horse that is. Everybody wants to call it an Appaloosa. It's
Mm-hmm.
not an Appaloosa. It is a dappled Andalusian. Now that's the gospel. You can Google that. It is a dappled Andalusian. But I can remember my mom going to town with 4 or 5 people. That is not a damn Appaloosa. That's an Andalusian. It's dappled. And an Appaloosa, her big argument I remember was an Appaloosa has spots and patches across its hindquarters, across its rears. And the dappling on this Andalusian was all across his chest and his flanks and his shoulders. So it looks like an Appaloosa to a lot of people that think it was an Appaloosa, but it is in fact an Andalusian. Which, if you go back to the Pale Rider, behold the pale horse. He was the pale rider, and Andalusians were the pale horses that were referenced. They think, at the time, because they're from that area in Scripture, which is where the pale rider for the movie comes from.
Yeah, there's a very biblical um, thought behind this movie with him being the pale rider or the man on above the man on the pale horse.
Yeah.
The girl was reading from the Bible as when he
Mhm.
comes to their mining colony with her. I guess her mom's.
I don't mean to laugh out loud at that, but before we get there,
Yeah.
so let's tell them why she was so. So the movie opens up with the bandits, I guess you'd call them, the bad guys.
Right.
Big, uh, just about 15 or 20 of them come riding through the gold camp, um,
Right.
just tearing everything up. Not necessarily killing people.
But
That
definitely,
wasn't one of the
but
issues
definitely
that they
wrecking
had during
everything.
the movie. Was, they hadn't killed anyone yet. They were still doing things as lawfully as possible, I guess you'd say. And but anyway, they came through tearing it up and firing the guns off in the air and everything. Well, the little girl heard them coming, and she was out in the woods with her dog. Well, and by the time it was all over with, her poor little dog had died, and I started laughing. I don't know if you noticed this,
Oh,
but
hold on. You just mentioned the little girl's dog died, and now you're laughing. That is just a cruel thing, Travis.
I know, I
Cruel.
know. Well, I looked at Tasha when that happened too. I was like, oh, people gonna get got in this movie. That's how it happens. John Wick, like it was about to go down. Somebody
Yeah.
killed a dog. It's over. But no, what the reason why I'm laughing is because when the little glimpse that you got of when they looked over her shoulder, her mom was upset, and the guy that was, taking care of him and everything, it was obviously like a 1970s stuffed animal dog that she picked up. It was
Yes,
like a ragged
it
out
was
stuffed animal.
very poorly. That was very poorly done.
I was so
But
mad.
what about the cow? The cow laying on its side.
Oh, dude, looking down with the blood on his nose. It is.
Yeah,
I was so big. Yeah, they had
man.
him. I don't know how they got that cow down, but he was not happy. When I seen his eyes like looking down, I was like, yeah, that's not. That cow is very unhappy. So, but anyway, that's why. So she had buried the dog, and she was reciting scripture there, and But yeah. So I'm
Right.
sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just thought that was one of the most hilarious things
Oh,
I saw was that
the way that
stuffed animal dog.
when that happened, I looked at it twice. I kind of took it back a few seconds and looked again. And I was like, that is terrible.
It was so
They couldn't have
bad.
done a better job of making it look more like a realistic dog or something.
Dude. Even old Yeller, like they had old Yeller laying on the ground, like.
Yeah,
Like oh, so but anyway,
but yeah, I mean,
that's the only really
she was
bad part of this movie, though, and it's comical, and you forget about it, like almost. You laugh about it for
almost
a minute, and
instantly.
then
I
you'll
mean,
forget about it.
right? But she's reading from Revelations as what she's doing out of the Bible, and she's just quoting these things out to her mom as they're, I guess, I don't know if they're cleaning up or getting dinner ready. I think she was getting dinner ready is what they were doing. And
Hmm.
the guy that takes care of them was bringing a preacher back with him because he'd saved him in town. He went to town to get supplies because the people had went through and wrecked everything, and they needed a few things. Now they tried to get him not to go, right, because last time he went to town, they said it wasn't very good for him, and
Yeah,
apparently they were going to make it not very good for him again because they all had axe handles they were going to whip him with, and they were hitting him with them. Now Clint Eastwood's character preacher, it's like it's almost like he comes out of nowhere. Just
Yeah.
comes into town. All of a sudden, he's there to save the day. And this isn't the only time that you see in the movie where suddenly he's there in one spot and he's not the next. Or he's always in time to help or to save somebody or whatever the case may be. One of the
You
questions
know,
they have about this is what I want to ask you. This is what I want to
yeah.
ask you. Uh, do you think Preacher is a supernatural being, a ghostly avenger, or just a man with a mysterious past?
Nah, nah. He's a man with a mysterious past.
See, that's how I took it because I see what they're saying because he pops up out of nowhere all the time, but that's just basically how they wrote the movie. He was
Yeah.
not there as a supernatural being, and they asked that question because when you see that he's got his shirt off, you see the six bullet holes in his back
Right.
that have healed over, and you
Yeah.
think taking shots like that he should have been dead, and they're
Yeah.
saying was he dead and just come back as for a matter of revenge against that
I mean,
sheriff and his deputies.
I've been hit with a few shells, but I don't walk with a limp. You know what I mean? They hit 50, what, 9?
I you know
They hit 59 times. Is 50 a mythical creature?
I think he
He
was
might be.
dead. I think he was dead at that point, was he not? You talking about the guy that
Who,
went to
50 Cent?
town that was you talking about? Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about that guy a while ago that went to in the movie that went to town and got drunk and was yelling at
Oh,
LaHood.
no. I went out of the retro lane is what it was. Well,
All
no,
right.
50 can be considered retro. He was back in early 2000. That's why I said I've been hit with a few shells, but I don't walk with a limp.
I saw a picture earlier of a guy who is of short stature, we'll say.
Yeah.
Um, that looks just like 50 Cent. They were calling him 25 Cent.
Hell yeah. Dime and a nickel.
Oh my gosh. So anyway, the guy
Call
takes
him
him
two
back to their
dimes.
camp. The guy he saves takes him back to the camp. He says, at least he owes him his three hots and a cot. Come back and stay with us at least for a day. And if you want to be on your way, so be it. He ends up taking it upon himself to stay
Hull.
and
I think
help
his name
them.
was Hull. And that
It
dude
was.
was played by, he has the coolest name, Michael Moriarty.
I see that. I didn't know him from anything else though. Um,
Uh, uh, what's it called? Courage Under Fire or something?
I don't
Was
know.
that
I did not look him up or anything. I didn't look him up.
yeah,
I'm sure he's done quite a bit, like everybody else does. But I mean, as far as names that meant something to me in this movie, other than Clint Eastwood, I remember Sidney Penny from other things. I remember Chris Penn, obviously.
dude.
Um,
So now check this out. Now hold on a minute. I got to do some research on this now. He was in the old. You remember the old half scary movie Troll from 1986?
yeah,
Okay, he played a guy in there, and actually Noah Hathaway, the young dude that played Atreyu in in
never ending story.
no, yeah, thank you. Guess what him and his dad's name were? Just take a wild guess. Harry
I,
Potter.
no, it
It was
wasn't.
Harry Potter Senior, and I swear, Harry Potter Senior, Harry Potter Junior. The mom's name was Ann Potter, and he had a sister named Wendy Ann Potter. It was Harry Potter
The
Junior and Harry
boy who
Potter Senior in the Troll.
the the boy who
The
come to
boy who
die.
lived.
The boy who
That's
lived
crazy.
come to
Oh,
die.
I'm gonna follow that rabbit hole later.
Well, there's some other notable names in there. Richard Kyle was in there. For those
Chris Penn.
Chris Penn, he played the son, Josh LaHood,
Hmm.
and Chris
Yeah,
Penn had
Richard
just
Kyle played
been
Club.
Chris Penn had just been before that in Footloose.
So anybody who don't recognize Richard Kyle's name, Richard Kyle is possibly one of the first people from my childhood to scare me. Um,
No,
he was in the Hero and the Terror, I believe, wasn't it?
I don't think he was in that.
When the Hero and the Terror, he
I
was.
don't think so.
It was a bad. He was a bad guy in a
He
movie with uh with uh. Gone it. If he
he was
roundhouse,
in
if you shaved
he
his
was in
chin off, it'd just be
Moonraker.
another fist.
He was in Moonraker,
Yeah,
James Bond film.
if you shaved his chin off, if he shaved his beard, it'd be another fist.
Okay, that's a Chuck
You know,
Norris thing now.
Chuck
Come on.
Norris, thank you. He was a bad guy in a Chuck Norris movie. I swear he was. But what everybody will recognize him immediately from is Happy Gilmore.
Excuse
He had,
me, I believe that jacket belongs to Mr. Gilmore.
yeah, he had he had the nail hanging out his head. Was he
Right.
not in the Hero and the Terror? He was not in the Hero and the Terror, was
Oh, I
he?
told you he was not in that. That was
I
not
thought
him.
all these years he was the bad guy from the Hero and the Terror.
No, there's no Chuck Norris movies listing for him in here that I can see.
I'll be. Well, who was that guy then? We're all off tonight. It must be something. It's a time change. We're gonna blame it on the time change.
There you go. It took an hour of sleep away from us. He was in Cannonball Run 2. He was Arnold, the Mitsubishi driver.
Okay, he's a cool dude in any case.
Yeah, and he does turn out okay in this movie. He's a hired hand by LaHood, but
Yeah, you could
it's
tell. That's what me and Tasha were saying. We're like, dude, he was gonna save him. I said the big guy don't like that. Club come up like he was about to break that up. If Preacher hadn't showed up, Club was about to break that up. You could just tell.
he was. What is funny with him is when he first gets introduced to Preacher, uh, the son, LaHood, brings him up there to the camp, and he wants him to go introduce himself to Preacher. And gets up there, and Preacher's got that sledgehammer in his hand, right?
Well, they've been trying to. So you got to set that up though. They was trying to break a rock about the size of a doggone chest of drawers or
Well,
dresser.
it was a boulder for sure.
Is a boulder, and they had been beating on it with the hammers, and everybody kind of come around looking at him because I was beating on him with them sledgehammers. So he walked up and just one handed broke that
Bro-
thing. That dude said he's been working on every morning for a month.
right, broke it in half, and then what happened to him then? What did took a
Oh, he
sledgehammer where?
yeah, he he looked like he was about to swing on Preacher, and Preacher busted him in the nose with the sledgehammer. And when he bent over, he swung it up right between his legs.
Yes.
He's like, "You might want to put some ice on that."
Yes, he's walking it back to his horse, and he says, he
He
didn't
helped
say
him
you
back on
might
the
want to.
horse.
He just simply says it's gonna be all right. It's gonna be okay. Just put a little
Yeah.
ice on it, and you're gonna be all right. And he's helping
And
him
when
up.
they were riding away, he said it twice. He goes, "Arse,
Yeah,
arse."
it helps him up on the horse and everything. Um, Fun movie, definitely a fun movie. We got top of other than Richard Kyle. I noticed Charles Hallahan from Hunter. He played the hunt in the Hunter TV series. He was the
Yeah,
boss,
yeah.
the captain, whatever you want to call him. So he's in as one of the bad guys. Fran Ryan and Richard Hamilton. I have seen them in so many things. Probably Richard Hamilton. I was trying to think of where I've seen him at last. It was a Steven Seagal movie on Deadly Ground. That's where I
Oh
seen
yeah.
him last. He was his friend that he goes to meet at the little bar there locally when the bully is trying to tell him, he's calling Steven Seagal cupcake and asked him to his boyfriend leave him or something. The old man, that was him, Richard Hamilton.
Okay.
So I knew
Very
I'd
good.
seen him somewhere before. I was like, "Well, that's him for sure." Richard Dysart, I've seen somewhere and I can't put my finger on where he's from. Um,
If we got any mid '80s babies listening that may have got stuck watching soap operas with their moms, um, Sydney Penny that played Megan, the little girl in the movie whose puppy dog died. She was on The Bold and the Beautiful for quite a few years, and All My Children for quite a few years.
yep, and I think I know her from somewhere else too. I'm pulling her up right now just to confirm where it was I knew her from.
She's done a few
Um,
more westerns.
well, that's what I'm thinking
Oh,
of, but
she was
not.
on Santa Barbara. I definitely watched that with my mom. She was BJ from Santa Barbara. So yeah.
Well, she's done quite a few of the soap operas. She's been in Days of Our Lives as
Looks
well.
like about all of them. Oh, she
Yeah,
was on the new Gidget from '86 to '88.
there you go. I think that's where I recognize her from was Gidget, the new Gidget. That sounds right. Then she gets started in other things when she was younger. T.J. Hooker, Silver Spoon, St. Elsewhere, and stuff. Yeah, but the new Gidget, that's where I think I know. It's either that or the capture of Grizzly Adams, one of the two, because she's related to him in the movie.
That John Russell guy looks real familiar too. So he was Bloody Bill in the Outlaw Josie Wells. That might be why he looks familiar.
And that's one played the sheriff Stockburn. He's been in many westerns
Yeah,
before. It said about him, so
yeah.
that's wouldn't be a first for him. Now he what him and his was it six deputies or seven deputies he brought with him?
Six, yeah, something like that. I can't remember. I think it was six, and he made seven, wasn't it?
And I think that's probably what it was. Probably what it was. There's like well, I told you before this. I was going to mention on here now as well. The movie there's like a nod to the movie Shane from 1953.
Hmm.
It shares themes with Shane, another classic western about a mysterious gunfighter helping oppressed settlers. But you made the point, like in Shane, it wasn't gold rush; it was cattle.
Mm.
But still, somebody helping out some oppressed people being pushed down by somebody more powerful than them.
Yeah,
Similar,
that
pretty
happens.
much the same thing.
That happens. There's another really good one. I can't remember the name of it. It might have been a '90s film, but it had Ed Harris and Viggo Mortensen, and they had come to town helping out. So that's a good running theme throughout the westerns. I felt like this one was a little different, being gold miners, during the gold rush and all. Uh, Little Deadwood vibes almost.
So the LaHood character, the main guy, the father, he's trying to get these guys chased out, all these families chased out from there. He wants to be doing all the mining in the area himself. He believes it's full of gold and he wants to get it all, right?
Hmm.
They are more sophisticated with theirs. They've got, water blasting or knocking down so many tons of rock per hour off the side of a mountain and then sifting through it, a more uh what's the word? A more, well, let's just say big business like way, we'll say.
Yeah, more
Uh
technologically advanced.
they're putting more thought into the process. They're just not trying to
Yeah, because
sit
they're
there
they're
and
running. They're using the gravity of the water coming out from up the hill, and they
yeah,
pump it through a 3 foot wide pipe to a 2 foot wide pipe to a 1 foot wide pipe down to I think about an 8 inch wide pipe when they're blowing it out. So that's what he was saying. He gets about 220 psi by the time it's you know blowing off the side of the mountain. So they're using like big water guns, big water jets to just
more or less.
blow out the side of the mountain and
Yeah.
the dirt would run down onto the separator, sifter, whatever it's called.
So what I like about the movie is that there's the option. All right, these guys can go ahead and sell out and leave and take $1,000 per person and be bought out by LaHood,
Hmm.
or they can stay there and stand up for themselves and keep digging and hopefully hit it rich or something. One of the guys there, that one I forget what his name was. He's the one that went into town with the two sons. They only go into town once a year, they said. But he is drunk as a skunk. But he found a rock about the big around, about the size of a basketball. Almost looks like.
Full of
Uh,
gold.
yeah, full of gold, big giant nugget. And so they know there's gold out there for sure. Uh,
Yeah.
and the other guy, the one that's protecting or taking care of the woman and the child, he had a smaller nugget that was worth a lot still, and paid off all their debts and everything. I like the storyline behind it though, of them them coming together as a group to stand up for their area. And but the only bad thing I thought what it was it never actually came out where they were standing up as a group. It was still basically just on Preacher when he went to
Yeah,
town.
for sure.
So they kind of build it up at first, and then I told you it's been a long time since I've seen it, but they build it up to where you think the group of people is going to go to town and take everybody out that's there that they bring in, the gunfighters they bring in.
Hmm.
Doesn't quite work that way. We get another one of those situations where it's like, is he a supernatural being? He basically stands
Right.
there at the end of he goes into the one place, sits down for some coffee, tells the people they might want to leave. Um, the other gunfighters go over there that are the hired hands of LaHood. They start shooting the place up, right? But he's nowhere to be
Hmm.
found. They just shoot everything up. Then he comes out there and shoots all of them. Then he goes out in town and walks out, and he's basically inviting the rest of them out. Puts his hat down. Next thing you know, he's gone. He's not there no more.
Right.
Where is he? And he ends up picking them off one at a time. Um, I thought the thing where he's taking them off one at a time, he had a couple of moments that it was pretty cool. One, he's got a guy coming down to the alleyway between two buildings, and you're like, "Where's he at? He was just there a second ago." Next thing you know, this barrel topples over, and he's standing behind it, and he shoots the guy right.
Hmm.
And then he's got the one guy where he's going toward the outhouse. He thinks he's in the outhouse because the door is swinging back and forth, like he went there to hide. And he's about to
Right.
start shooting the outhouse up. And he gets by one of the troughs out there, and apparently he's laying on the ground the other side of the trough, just reaches the gun up and pops him right there.
Yeah.
Um, I like it also when he comes face to face with the sheriff again.
Hmm.
He's looking at him. He's like, "No, it can't be," because he remembers him now for sure. He knows that's who it is. He thought he had
Hmm.
killed him. I don't know the story behind that though. Did they ever go behind? Did they ever explain the story of the first time around
I
they
don't.
met?
Yeah, I don't recall him explaining it, but I was sure that the sheriff was the one that he was shooting his hat and everything too, wasn't it? That like shot his hat up in the air when they were out there in the middle of the night. Like he shot at the ground a couple times. They shot each other's hats, and then they were having drinks afterwards. I can't remember if that was the sheriff or not.
I might have missed that part. Then I
That
don't remember
and
that.
where it might have been where he went back to get his guns. I can't recall perfectly, but the other guy had a gun. His his revolver had like a daggum shoulder stock on it.
Yeah.
So that's what he's talking about. Daggum how he shot this because he unloaded he shot his hat off his head off of Clint Eastwood's head, off Preacher's head, and then kept it in the air shooting it about 5 times. And then they went in and had drinks and was talking afterwards.
Did I get up and miss that altogether? Because I don't remember that part.
That might have been, you know what,
Was
you
it a
know what, it
flashback
wasn't
scene?
it. No, because it wasn't that part. Because I had stopped the movie to go do something, and when I came back, it was pulled out, or it had went off, and I had to rewind it. No, that because that was a few dollars more. Because I was like, wait a minute, why is he
Okay.
talking to the sheriff? And why is the sheriff dressed in black? So that was actually a scene at a few dollars more. That I was like, I realized I was watching the wrong movie and put it back over. Time
Have you seen Hot Plains Drifter?
change. Uh, it's been I've seen probably everything that Clint Eastwood's ever done. But
It,
it's been a long, long time.
I
But
saw
I know High Plains
something.
Drifter, I think, was a gold rush, like a gold camp too.
I saw something mentioned where they made reference to High Plains Drifter being very similar to Pale Rider.
Yeah, that's why you get mixed up with all these movies too. It's like every one of them, you could take pieces out of each one of them. And like I said before, like I'm always thinking that like 3 or 4 of them are sequels to other ones, like the Outlaw Josie Wells and the Fistful of Dollars, and then a few dollars more. It seemed like they all go together. And
Yeah,
then like High Plains Drifter and Pale Rider would go together, and so although like we said, I mean they do stand. This one to me is a little different. It's a little departure from the others. And this was also the highest grossing western of the 80s, I think, and his
I
only
think it.
one.
I think it made like 41 million or something, didn't it?
Yeah, it did good.
I was reading that earlier. Do you know Clint Eastwood's son, Kyle Eastwood, played a small role? He's one of the
Oh, really?
prospector's children.
Ah, I did not know that.
Got into the business a little early.
Heck yeah.
They said Clint Eastwood did pretty much most of his own riding and stunts. He's a skilled horseman already. Performed most
Yeah.
of his own stunts on horseback. Um, I know we mentioned the nod to Shane. The biblical symbolism in it, the film's title, comes from the book of Revelation. And I looked, and behold, a pale horse, and his name that sat on him was Death, was the quote that she had
Yes.
read off in there. That suggests the preacher is an agent of divine retribution, possibly.
Does he have a son named Kyle? I thought his son's name was Scott.
Apparently, he has one named Kyle as well, or Scott
Oh,
Eastwood's middle name is Kyle. I don't know.
I don't know.
That I'm not certain of. He probably has more than one kid.
Probably.
So, and here's what I was reading earlier. I couldn't find. I was telling you about a supernatural gunfighter. It questions many fans and critics believe Preacher is a ghost or an avenging spirit, given his bullet riddled back and uncanny ability to appear when needed.
Yeah. It's a nice thought.
Now this was his first western since Outlaw Josie
Mhm.
Wales from 1976. and
Mm,
it's considered a spiritual successor to High Plains Drifter from '73.
yeah, I could see that. I
I
think
mean,
it's the last movie he wore a beard in.
maybe not exactly sure, but maybe. Of the '80s Western movies, where does this rank up here for you?
It's after the rewatch, man. It's pretty hot. It's pretty hot. I liked it a lot. I really did. I didn't think I was gonna. I didn't think I wouldn't enjoy it because I mean it's Clint Eastwood,
Right?
and I do feel like he's so much better. I feel like he's so much better in the westerns than he is in like Dirty Harry and Any Which Way But Loose. And as far as acting and believability, like you believe him as an old rugged western gunslinger. Like
Yeah.
it's believable.
That
Whereas,
that seems like that's his thing right there. Most of his
yeah,
best most of his best movies were probably westerns.
hmm,
But then again, he has some other good ones. We just did one recently. Any which way
yeah,
you, every which way but loose. We did was good. Those were good.
it was good. But like I said, I feel like the acting in that for him on his side, he's better with the westerns. He did
Okay.
real good in El Camino, and he did real good in Million Dollar Baby. But I still prefer his westerns for sure. Because like I said, to me, he's a very believable, grizzled, old, ill ass old man. So, so like, he does that very
Fact,
well.
facts. Um,
But I feel like in his younger stuff, I just really think that his cowboy stuff is just much more believable. So it
westerns
draws me in
were
more.
when he did this. Westerns were kind of on the back end. They were fading out. Popularity
Oh, for
wasn't
sure,
there for him anymore. And
for
then he
sure.
comes and brings this out, and it's reminiscent to a lot of his older stuff he did. People loved it.
Yeah, and then Unforgiven. I remember Unforgiven was huge when it came out. Everybody was talking about it, and I was 12, 13 years old. I think I don't even remember. But
Would
it did
you
really, really well.
would you say that Pale Rider kind of paved the way for Young Guns to be made and become so popular?
No,
Young Guns
I
like
I, I
'88,
wouldn't
wasn't it?
because uh, yeah, but for me, Young Gun. I think what lended to Young Gun's popularity was the cast at the time because they were
Okay,
all huge at the
yeah.
time.
Well, the
You
cast
had the
definitely made a
Sheen
difference.
brothers, and then you had
But
you
was even with that cast at the time, if there was never a Pale Rider made, this is Young Guns is probably the next biggest western
well,
in the
yeah,
'80s.
okay. So with it being the biggest box office draw of the '80s, then yeah, because you got a little 5 to 8 year gap there between it and Young Guns. So there were probably some westerns piggybacking off of this one's success.
Yeah.
So I could say it may have. I wouldn't say it paved the way as much as I would say it probably piqued the interest a little bit. It would have helped probably.
And back
But
to
Young Guns to me is a completely different kind of movie. It's a Young Guns, and I would say pave the
well,
way. I would say like, well, no, because I think Tombstone came out of nowhere. I think Tombstone just came out of nowhere. It's like
Young Guns is based
it
on
dropped, and it was like boom,
just like Tombstone, Young Guns is based off of something historical. So,
for sure, for sure.
but Pale Rider is just something created, for the enjoyment and everything. So, it's just a well written story,
It is.
which
It's
might
well
have,
written. It's well acted. There's humor in it. There's, his speech when we were talking about them taking $1,000 and moving away. He's like, well, if you do that, and he gave a phenomenal speech in the middle of the movie, and he said, well, what are we going to sell our dignity for next time? 2,000. The the highest bidder. Just with like
right?
whatever. So that was it had a lot of things going for it in this movie. You cared about the girl, you cared about the mom, you cared about preacher, and I mean you cared about all the the characters in it.
Yes. Yep. $6.9 million budget, and I think as you mentioned earlier, highest grossing western of the '80s, made 41.4 million at the box office. So definitely well done. Um, you had mentioned earlier he has sustained an injury or something making that movie.
Yeah, and I don't recall that was I thought it was odd too because I don't. I remember, like when what's his name first went into town, seeing ice and snow in the shadows, and they were talking about winter coming and stuff. But I don't remember him riding the horses necessarily across any large bodies of water large enough for this to happen. But it said that on set, he said he received the worst injury he ever had on while filming because one of the horses fell through the ice and it launched him forward. And I don't know. It didn't give any information on what injury he sustained.
A dislocated shoulder.
Oh, okay.
I'm looking at it now,
I thought it was
talking
funny
about it.
too that Richard Keel's the first horse they had for him collapsed underneath him, so they had to get him a stronger horse.
Well, all
we
right,
needed
so
we need a bigger horse.
of a bigger horse. On top of that, he had a bad back, right? Richard had a bad back.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And after the part where Club gets his name was Club in the movie, after he gets hit between the legs, Preacher helps him back to his horse. But due to his back problems, he had to use a step that was on the side of the horse to get into the saddle. So if you look, you can see Richard take a step onto the platform for getting on the horse. Now that being said, for all we know, he was putting his foot in a stirrup and climbing
Right.
over the horse. So I thought that was pretty well done, and you couldn't tell he's stepping on the platform if anything. I didn't
Yeah, I
know that
didn't
until I
think so
just
either.
read
I
this.
figured, like you said, he was just stepping up into the stirrup.
Um, Preacher's revolver. It's a Remington model 1858, modified from a cap and ball revolver cylinder to a cylinder that fires cartridge ammunition. If you remember,
And what
when
was up
he's
with the blue
reloading that
tips on
gun.
those?
I
So now
don't.
that goes back to the part two. They thought he just left. They thought he just abandoned them
Yeah.
because he just disappeared one day, and it
Well,
was
but if
after
you
they
remember,
rejected.
he took his pack and everything with him. They said, the woman thought
Right,
maybe he just went to town to tell the guy they were declining his $1,000 buyouts. But he
right,
told him, he said, well, why would he take his pack and everything with him?
right. So they
He's
thought he kind of just bailed on them, but
right.
he went. I don't know if he went back into that particular town or like another town over. I guess he went to like the next town over or something. I don't know,
Well, he did
but he went.
something too. He was out there watching a train go by at one point.
Yeah, so he may have rode a train into another town. I don't know, but he went somewhere to a bank, to a lockbox, and retrieved two pistols. And
Right.
that's what we're saying too. You saw his gun belt, and the cartridges had blue tips on them. I thought that was strange.
I don't know anything about that part now of why they were blue. That's beyond me. If you remember in one scene, it says Eastwood pulls his gun with his left hand. That's because his shoulder injury he suffered by falling off the horse was on the right side, I guess. So he
Ah,
couldn't pull the right hand at that point. We mentioned earlier this was his first western since Outlaw Josie Wales. There was a gap of 9 years in his last one. Oh, and I mean between that and Josie Wales and his last prior to Unforgiven in '92, which was a gap of 7 years.
hmm. I thought it was pretty interesting too that there's no direct relation in the scripts at all, but there's an episode of Rawhide that was named "Incident of the Pale Rider."
Mm. That was probably used many times, several times throughout westerns in the past. Though I'm not sure how many references we would find on it. But the title itself, as we mentioned, refers to the four horsemen of the apocalypse in the book of Revelation, chapter 6. It says Megan Wheeler, played by Sidney Penny, is reading the exact verse when she and her mom, Sarah, see Preacher ride up on the horse. And
Heck yeah.
it's like very coincidental. She's reading it, she's looking, and the pale horse pulls right up, basically, trots right on up there, and they're looking at it like it's straight out of the Bible for them at that point.
Right.
Um, did you know that the long gap between Clint Eastwood making westerns was caused by a midlife allergy that he had to horses?
What? That's irony.
Isn't it?
That's crazy.
Oh,
Well, how about this? We just spent all this time discussing that weapon. It's so Clint's gun was actually a Remington 1961 new model and not the fictional 1858 that was a name given to avoid issues with copyright at one time.
wow.
So they cut. So they couldn't.
So
I guess they couldn't get the rights. They couldn't get Remington to be like, okay, you can call it this. So, like, you got to rename it. That's weird.
definitely weird.
What in
Um,
the world? Remade as the Missionary Man in 2007. A Dolph Lundgren movie. What? Come on.
I did
I'm
not
watching
know
it.
that.
I'm watching it. I'm watching
Well,
it tonight. A
we'd have
mysterious stranger rolls into town on a unique motorcycle. All he carries is the Bible and a desire. I think I've seen this movie. A desire for justice. Past vengeance collides as Ryder writes an injustice from his past and liberates a small town from a malicious oppressor. I'm in. I'm in right
that's
now.
you're going to send me a link for that if you find it somewhere. Then I might
I
check that out
definitely
too.
will. I surely will.
You were talking about his son earlier when you were asking about that. I just found something about this. It was the night of the this film's West Coast premiere at the Golden Bough Theater in Carmel. That Clint Eastwood had a tryst with a flight attendant named Jacqueline Reeves at her apartment just a few
Uh
blocks
huh.
from, and conceived their secret son, Scott Reeves, who later changed his name to Scott Eastwood.
Uh huh. Okay.
June 20th, 1985.
Well, how do we know it wasn't Christopher? Was
I
he
guess.
walking? That was
Oh,
messed up. I'm sorry. I apologize for that there.
oh
Lord
my
be
God.
with the starving pygmies in New Guinea.
You're not allowed. You're not allowed to have jokes anymore. You've got the darkest jokes lately.
Oh, I got a good one for this one though.
We are.
It's not dark at all. You're gonna love it.
We have cut you off, sir. We have
Nah,
cut you off.
you gotta give me one more chance. This one's great. The one I got lined up for this one.
Well,
It's a good
we'll
story.
tell you what. We got a few minutes to go. We'll consider it between now and then, if we're gonna let you see because you're laughing really bad right now, and it makes me nervous.
No, I'm still laughing about the Christopher Reeves thing. That was messed up.
You're still laughing about the dog. Come on,
Yeah, that too. That too.
man. So let's see what else we can find about this. As with the earlier Clint Eastwood Western High Plains Drifter, the mining camp set was comprised of not just exteriors, but had interiors inside the set structures as well. Clint Eastwood's 14th movie for Warner Brothers. It's a good long relationship with the movie company, isn't it? 14 years. Oh, I'm sorry, 14 movies.
Yeah, that's a long relationship there. So, how about Richard Durst played? I just scrolled right past this and I can't find it again. So I don't remember the name of the movies now. But Richard Durst, okay, I just found it. Plays Chris Penn's father in The Falcon, and in The Snowman, Richard Durst plays the father of Sean Penn.
Oh,
So isn't that crazy? That's pretty wild. And I think Chris Penn directed a movie with Sean Penn in it later on too. Uh, yeah. So Chris Penn actually directed Mystic River, which earned his brother Sean an Oscar in 2003.
there you go.
And Chris always plays a butthole, doesn't he? Like everything he's in.
I mean, man. Well, no, not really in Footloose. I mean, he was a Willard.
Okay,
And he
well,
was Willard in
yeah,
Footloose.
yeah.
But now
So
in Best of the
not in
Best,
Footloose.
Best of the Best, however,
Best of the best, he
yeah,
was butthole. But he
it
turned out
was
to be cool though.
he did. But I
He
mean,
turned it around.
till you get to know him, he's like at the bar asking the women going into the
Yeah,
restroom was number
he,
one or number two.
he's just that kind of guy. And then Nice Guy Eddie and Reservoir Dogs. You hadn't seen that, have you? I'm gonna have to get you to
No, I
watch
have
that.
not seen Reservoir Dogs. No.
See what you think about that. We're gonna have to put that on the watch list. We got to get a
Um, what is Reservoir Dogs about?
a botched bank robbery, but
What?
it's Tarantino's. I don't know if it's his very first film, but it's like the one that everybody references because they're like they talk about how genius the film is because it's shot in reverse. Um, and it is. It's like this movie is amazing. So it starts at the end of the story and kind of tells the story in reverse. And it's one I think one of the first movies to ever do that. So like when the movie cranks up, you see all the guys like one of them got his fingers shot off and like they're all at the meetup place after the bank robbery. And it's kind of they tell the story kind of like of what happened. Not it's in flashbacks, but So you already know you already know the end of the story before at the beginning of the movie. So it
Yeah.
starts at the end and goes kind of like Pulp Fiction, how Pulp Fiction bounces around and jumps
Oh,
around all over the
first
place.
time I seen Pulp Fiction, I got mad and just turned it off. I was like, "This is jumping around so much, I done lost interest in
Yeah, a
it."
lot of
Because
people don't get it, man. Tarantino's his genius is misunderstood a lot, dude. Is I don't. There's some of them I didn't like. I don't know. I was a fan of Pulp Fiction when I first saw it, but I wasn't a fan for that very reason, the way it jumped around and the story. But I also liked it because it was awesome. The way one of my favorite things that ever happened in any movie was when, excuse me, when they're in the car and John Travolta's like turning around just talking to the guy, but he's got the pistol laid up on the daggum seat, and they like hit a pothole and it shoots the guy, and like blood goes everywhere.
yeah,
And like he's all sad. I don't remember the guy's name, but he goes, "Oh man, I shot Jimmy, man." Like, the way he does it is just the most hilarious thing. It's just like, "Oh man."
did did you watch any of the other earlier westerns in the '80s before that one, like Silverado, Wrestler's Rhapsody, Lust in the Dust? Although Lust in the Dust was kind of a parody movie, really.
No, I would say the only things uh
I'd be surprised
no.
if you didn't see Silverado though.
Yeah, I may have because like I said, being out with my grandparents, like I watched tons and tons of like westerns and Disney movies is like what we watched.
If you seen a western in the '80s with Danny Glover in it, that was Silverado.
Okay, that's probably I probably definitely have seen that then.
Danny Glover, Kevin Kline. Um, I'm drawing a blank on some of them there.
Yeah, I don't
But
know.
hang on one
Was
second.
Trinity was I am Trinity shot was that was that 80s or 70s?
I think that was '70s, if I'm not mistaken. Uh,
Okay.
Silverado, Kevin Kline, Scott Glenn, Kevin Costner, John Cleese, Brian Dennehy, Danny Glover, Jeff Goldblum's in it.
Okay.
You've got Rosanna Arquette's in it.
I don't
It's
think I
got
have
some
seen that.
names. It's definitely got some names. Linda Hunt, she's the one that plays Hetty in if you like the NCIS
Hmm.
Los Angeles. Um, it's like I said, a lot of names in that movie. I think you'd enjoy it. Jeff Fahey's in it as well.
I love Jeff Fahey.
Yeah.
I would say like probably Young Guns and Man from Snowy River. Uh, I'm trying to think of another one. I may have watched Silverado. If I did, it's been a long, long time.
When did Wyatt Earp come out? That version. It's not Tombstone.
It came out after Tombstone. I think it
So
was
that'd
the
be in the
same year or the
'90s.
year next.
So it'd
It
be in
was
the
either the
'90s.
same year or the year after. Oh yeah, it was the 90s for sure. Because we always they came around. They came out right around the same exact time. Because I remember we were telling everybody like, if you haven't seen either one of them, watch Earp first because Wide Earp is a great movie. It's a great story. It tells more details of Wide Earp's life, but Tombstone blows it away. If you watch if you watch Tombstone first, you're gonna be like, this movie's crap.
Yeah, this movie sucks.
This movie sucks. When did
Jeez.
Quigley Down Under come out? Is that's a western, isn't it?
Oh, that's a great one. Yeah, that's in the '80s. Tom Selleck.
So I saw that one. Quigley Down Under is awesome.
Yeah. What do you think, Pale Rider? One of the questions they throw out about the story and the theme of the movie and everything. What do you?
Mm.
I'm gonna ask you this, and we'll move on toward getting close to wrapping up and everything. But what do you think Pale Rider is trying to say about justice and revenge in the Old West?
Hmm.
Because it has that theme to it. He's trying to get justice for the mining camp there, trying to help them out. But then when that sheriff and his deputies are brought in, now there's a feel of revenge coming out as well
Yeah,
because
I don't know. That's hard for me to pinpoint to because I was thinking that when we came on. It's like, so what metaphorical representation for humanity do you have for this one, Travis? You know what I mean? It's like I, d- I don't I can't really, I can't really get into it because I don't. I think I just enjoyed this one at face value, and I guess underlying the underlying tone or message would just be to stand your ground, and it'll work out. You know what I mean? Like, the guy did show up at the end and take care of the big boss with the shotgun. He didn't fight everybody off, but it's like they kept telling him through the whole movie, "Hey, you got sand, but you ain't got much common sense. Like, like you got the heart, you got all the heart in the world, man, but I don't think you can take care of this."
But he does show him at
So
the end, though. He's there.
yeah.
I thought it was kind of funny. This is the practically the end of the movie, more or less. I mean, it's not the very end, but I mean, it's at the end. After he saves Preacher, he shoots the other guy. Preacher
Mhm.
had basically kept him from coming to town with him by scaring his horse off when they were blowing up the mining business that LaHood had going
Mhm.
on. They were tossing dynamite everywhere, blowing everything up. And then before he could leave and go to town with him, he scares his horse off, and he's basically protecting him so he doesn't
Yeah,
get
because
killed in town.
throughout the movie, he shows over and over and over again. He ain't scared.
Right.
He's got all the heart in the world. He just don't have the I guess skill to back it up.
So,
But he's one of them that you might beat my butt, but you're gonna have to.
but what was kind of funny was his preacher looks at him after he shoots the guy and comes out and looks at him. Preacher looks at him and goes, "Long walk, wasn't it?" He goes, "Yes, it was."
Yes,
He
it
just turns
was.
around. He turns around and rides off. You know
Yeah, that's
that
good.
that if that was the end of it right there, that would have been good too. They
Did you?
didn't.
I got a question for you because I did. They didn't address it. I don't think. I don't remember. I don't recall them addressing it. So the mom, when she was out there hanging up the clothes, and he was telling her that the guy told her, you got all the sand. The guy that found the big nugget. He said, but you need to take that girl and leave or whatever. Take them girls and leave if I was you. And he told her, he said, I've been waiting. I done took care of y'all, and I believe I just deserve the truth. Is there a chance with us? And she tells him, you're the most decent man I've ever known. And she said yes, but then at the same time, it's like you got this feeling that it's like well, I guess now that preacher's gone, you know what I
Right.
mean? Like,
Right. Now did you get the feeling when he came back and he's talking to her? She goes in and talks to him and
yeah.
tells him to let him know. I guess I should let you know or something. I'm marrying. What was his name again?
Oh, I can't remember now. How?
What was it? Hal? Let's see. Hull.
Hull.
She says I'm marrying Hull. He said, well, he's a good man. He'll take
Hmm.
good care of you and everything. Um, and she says, I guess I've always known you were a gunfighter and you'd probably be gone in a couple of years anyway, would you? He said, yes, ma'am, I would. But did you get the feeling as that scene was ending that something may have happened after that between the two of them?
It might have. I didn't get it. I didn't get that in the moment, but yeah,
It,
I could
it
see it.
it made me feel like they were having a moment with each other, even though she's telling him she's going to marry the other guy. Like the girl accused him of liking the mother anyway because she had a
Oh
crush
yeah,
on him.
yeah. After she professed wanting to be with him
Right. So then the girl asked the mom
at 15 years old.
at
When my
15 years
mom got
old.
married, if when she was 15, I'd do what I want.
Right.
That's why I told Tasha. I looked over at her. I said the translation is I'll sling this booty whichever way I want it to go.
The girl, though, she asked the mom, she goes, did you say bye to him? The mom looks at her and goes, yes, I did.
Yeah,
So, how did she say goodbye to him?
yeah.
Is the
There you go.
question.
Yeah.
That's the
Hmm.
question. That's a burning question some people have there. Did the two of them kind of get together for a last goodbye, a
Hmm.
first and only goodbye, or how did that work out? So they
Yeah, that
kind of
made
leave
me not like the
you
mom though. That made me not like the mom because it's like, damn, you gonna do whole that way? Like, well, I guess since you're the only one left,
right.
I
I'll
guess
just settle.
I guess I would if you are the last man on earth. I guess I would.
I'll just settle. It'll be okay. It'll be all right. So, all right. Well, I mean, all in all, last thoughts on the movie. Last thoughts and favorite scene.
Oh man, great movie. Go watch it, especially if you get a hankering to catch a western. Man, this is a great one. And favorite scene, uh, Probably out there with the Rock off the top of my head. That was
About
just so
put some ice
comical.
on it.
Yeah, that was really comical.
Yeah, it
How
was.
about you?
I'm the same as you. I definitely highly recommend the movie. It's not my favorite western of the '80s. That's Young Guns, hands down. But
Absolutely.
this was a great movie. I'm pretty sure that I've seen Silverado and it was good as well. I'm just having a. It's been so long, just like Pale Rider was a long time since I'd seen it. Um, I know Silverado would be a good rewatch as well, but definitely if you have not seen this movie, watch it. If you have seen it, it's been a while. It's well worth a rewatch and revisiting again. It's as good as it ever was. So, my one of my favorite scenes, I think I'm gonna pick when Hull goes to town to get the supplies, and they're beating him with the axe handles, and then uh, Preacher grabs one himself,
Oh man, I thought that
and
scene was hilarious too. The
he
way
puts the beating on him, right? And then at the end he looks at Hull and goes, "Nothing like a good piece of hickory."
yeah,
Just drops it down.
I thought that scene was hilarious too. There was one point where where Clint like spun him around, like he spun it around, but you could tell it was like it was a cut shot to somebody else doing it. It's like, oh, okay, he's showing off his ninja skills over here with the axe
Right.
handle.
They're sitting there like they're sword fighting. Pop, pop,
Yeah,
pop, pop.
right, exactly.
That was
Yeah,
pretty
that
good
was
stuff.
good.
All right, well, we'll start wrapping things up here. We're at the end of the hour here for sure. So, if, as I always say, if this is your first time listening, make sure that you are following us on Instagram and Facebook, and then the podcast itself. You can find pretty much anywhere where you get your podcast at, but iTunes and Spotify seem to be the two biggest places for us. If you're on iTunes, make sure you give us a nice little review there if you like the show. And on Spotify, you can give us a 5-star rating on there. Would be greatly appreciated. And stuff like that does help us get noticed by the people out there in the algorithms on Google and everything as well for people searching for '80s or retro or movie podcasts or things of that nature. So we have a website at www.retrolife, the number four, the letter u.com. And if you want to reach out to us, Travis, where can they reach us on email?
At that exact same location that you just said, taught them how to spell, but then put the little at sign and then gmail.com.
But
That's
it's actually not the
retro
number.
life
It's
num.
actually not the letter U. It's YOU. So
It's
retro
Y O
life, the number four, YOU at gmail.com.
YOU.
Yeah, the letter U is only in the website address, and that's only because I had to do it because somebody already had the address for the other. So
Oh
I don't
man,
know who they are, but they did me wrong, whoever they are.
we're coming for
Uh,
you. Just
coming for you, man. Coming for you. Um, YouTube at Retro Life for You, YOU.
mm-hmm.
And on the website, as I mentioned, you can listen to us audio wise in your web browser. But if you click on the show notes, you can also click on the video that's linked to YouTube from there and watch the video as well. So,
Oh yeah.
um, am I leaving anything out? You know what?
Tell them I think so.
Actually, I haven't mentioned this in quite some time. But
Buy coffee.
if you go to the website, no, just go to our website. Uh, on the website itself and on the player also that you can click on to play from the website, there is a link there where you can help support the show and everything. So it gives you the options. Like I think it's like $1 and $3 and $5 or a
Oh
custom amount.
yeah. There you go.
So if you like the show and you like what we do and you want to help support us, that's the one of the
Run like
best
a
ways you can do that.
shell.
And that might actually help us and bringing in some more people on the show. I understand from other people who've listened in the past that they really love the interview shows, hearing
The
from a
sh-
celebrity. So we got
yes.
some things cooking right now. We're hoping to get some people. I'm not going to say who, but we are hoping to get a few people to come on here and get some interviews for us for their careers and such. So hopefully we'll have some
Yeah.
good news for you in time. So, Travis, you
I
said to give you one last chance, man. One
can-
last chance.
yeah,
What
I
are you
got a
gonna do?
story, and you may have heard this story before. It's this cowboy walks into the saloon naked, except for his boots. He had his boots on, and they were like, "Where you clothes at, Slim?" And he goes, "Well, back at the barn." I was feeding horses, and this beautiful blonde rode up, and she said, "I want to show you something in the barn. Follow me." So I followed her. She says, "Take off all your clothes." So I do. And then she takes off all hers. And she lied down. She said, "You like what you see?" And fella, she had the most bodacious body I ever saw. And I said, "Yes, ma'am, I do." Well, she laid down on a blanket, all friendly like, and she said, "Well, then go to town, cowboy." So I slid my boots back on, and here I am.
I gave him one last chance, everybody. That's all I can say. Thanks for listening, everybody. Have a good one.